Good afternoon, I'm Kristinach Kate. Welcome to APTN National News. Thank you for joining us. It has been almost a week since the bodies of 2 women and 2 men were found in a home on the Kettle Nakoda Nation in southern Saskatchewan, and there are still no answers yet on who might be responsible. Meanwhile, the people in Kettle are still on edge. The school has been closed and the RCMP are still investigating. CTK Chief Scott Ashapi said police arriving in CTK last Friday was part of their ongoing investigation and there was no imminent danger. He said the community is still on high alert and he has received messages that many of the residents there are afraid for their safety. Last Tuesday on February 4th at around 11 a.m., the Fowl Hills Police Service found 4 people deceased in a home in CTK. 4 hours later, a firearm incident happened in Nakoda, about 40 minutes away from CTK. Both the neighboring Cowessess and Ochapowace First Nation said the RCMP were looking for 2 suspects, including 29-year-old Keegan Panapakisik, following that firearm incident. The Regina Police Service later found Panapakisik early Wednesday morning in a home in Matthew Crescent in Regina and arrested him along with 2 other suspects. Saskatchewan RCMP said Panapakisik was a person of interest. However, police are still trying to determine if the CTK and Zakame incidents are connected, but did say the home in CTK was targeted. RCMP continues their investigation this week. Singer-songwriter and a longtime advocate for Indigenous people, Buffy St. Marie, has been stripped of her Order of Canada by the Governor-General. Governor-General Mary Simon made the move on January 3rd, but it wasn't made public until last Friday, when the story appeared in the Canada Gazette, the federal government's official newspaper. Stripping St. Marie of the Order of Canada follows a 2023 report by CBC that questions her claims of being Cree from Saskatchewan, being adopted out, and being adopted by well-known Cree elder Emily Piapot of the Piapot Cree Nation near Regina. According to that CBC report, they found a birth certificate that showed she was born in 1941 in Massachusetts. St. Marie's U.S. family members said she was not adopted and doesn't have Indigenous ancestry, and when the family was going to speak out in the 1970s and 80s, they were warned they could face legal action. St. Marie has said that CBC report contained mistakes and that she has never lied about her identity. In a statement posted to social media, Natonis Piapot had this to say about her auntie Buffy St. Marie. My aunt has dedicated her whole life to helping our people. She did so well in her 80s. So I thank those who have showed us humanity and dignity in light of gotcha journalism. We never asked for this to happen, and we love and we stand next to our relative, no matter what. Developing news this week as there is another major escalation in Donald Trump's overhaul of the U.S. trade policy. President Trump says he is set to announce 25% tariffs today on steel and aluminum imports from Canada and Mexico. He first made the announcement over the weekend. The U.S. is Canada's biggest customer in the steel and aluminum industries. Canada and the U.S. got into a similar trade war over metal tariffs previously during Trump's first term. That trade war lasted about a year before Canada received an exemption. Sources say Ottawa won't respond until officials see details of Trump's latest tariff plan. Meanwhile, Canada's premiers are set to go to Washington on Wednesday to try and stop the tariff threat. And Prime Minister Justin Trudeau also traveled to Paris to meet with France's president to discuss solutions.
Any steel coming into the United States is going to have a 25% tariff.
What about aluminum, sir?
Aluminum too.
10%?
No, 25%.
25 for aluminum?
25 for both. Nobody can have a majority.
We now want to tell you about last week's web poll results. First, we asked, do you think appointing an Indigenous knowledge keeper in the Canadian Armed Forces is a positive step towards reconciliation? Half had voted yes at 50%, while 30% said no, and the rest were unsure at 20%. Our second question was, despite environmental concerns, should Canada build more pipelines? Almost half voted no at 47%, while the yes vote was at 39%, and the rest were unsure at 14%. And our third question was, are you intentionally avoiding US-made products? 61% said yes, you were avoiding US-made products, while 30% voted no, and 9% were unsure. Thank you all for waiting. Thank you all for taking the time to vote. Head over to aptnnews.ca for our all-new web poll questions for this week. We have to take a quick break, but first, the Invictus Games, which was founded by Prince Harry in 2014, have officially kicked off in Vancouver, Whistler. APTN's Tina House tells us more.
The opening ceremony is for the 2025 Invictus Games called Paddling Together, welcomed over 40,000 people to a sold-out crowd at BC Place. Performers such as Chris Martin, Nelly Furtado, Matt Mack, and Katy Perry joined a huge roster of other talent to welcome a huge crowd celebrating this incredible opportunity to host over 500 competitors from 23 nations. Now the attention looks towards Whistler, where for the very first time, this competition takes place in the winter. We'll have more coverage for you coming up this week on APTN National News.
Welcome back. Chesterfield Inlet, Nunavut, is a small northern community that's big on hockey, and it's no small task to run the hockey season there each winter, especially making sure there's enough proper equipment to go around. Here's a look at their story.
Sitting just north of the 63rd parallel is Chesterfield Inlet, Nunavut, a small community on the western shore of Hudson Bay that's big on hockey. Leading the way is Recreation Coordinator Russell Mullins. He's always busy working around the rink, scheduling, or most importantly,
helping kids getting dressed, making sure their helmets and cages, neck guards are all okay. We have some gear here for kids if they outgrow them or if they break them. So I'm more like a trainer during the evenings, but during the day, it's just getting it ready for kids to use during the evenings.
Having enough proper equipment is a never-ending battle.
I think more kids want to play. It's so expensive to get gear up here. And when people try to help and they send up stuff, but they're sending 2 left elbow pads or 1 shin guard's 12 inches, the other one's 14. I want kids to play, but I don't want them to use 2 left elbow pads. You know what I mean?
Most of the winter is played here on home ice. But 1 weekend each season, teams from Chester travel to Rankin Inlet for a tournament. Prior to last year's trip for the U13s, Russell made a call to first assist and Andrew Anselm.
I told Andrew that the kids were getting ready to go to a tournament. 2 weeks before they went, he came here. And I asked him to work on a bunch of things with them, and he did. And every game they were getting better. They played, teamwork. They had a really good goalie and got some really good players, 2 girls.
And it paid off.
They did good. They won. It's crazy. It's emotional, I guess, for them.
Yeah, it was pretty cool to hear that they won the tournament right after. So I'd like to say, we helped out a little bit in that sense, but yeah, it was all in all a great time. The kids worked hard, and I think it paid off in the end. So they got to really, reap the benefits of their hard work.
So what's this? From where? Rankin? That's the tournament last year, right?
What age group did you guys play in? What age 13? U13?
That was nice. I mean, both Andrew and I got texts and emails from Russell and from Douglas and even from a couple of players saying you guys had won. And I was traveling and I was pretty happy to hear that you guys had won, especially when you hadn't won it in the past. So I thought that was pretty cool.
A little pat on yourself, on your backs for that. You guys did awesome. And
now there's pressure to repeat.
Yeah, now you guys are the reigning champs. Let's see if you guys can do it again. Good stuff, guys.
Good work. Thanks, Nate. My turn.
For Russell, winning is great, along with the bonds it builds. But his goal is simple.
I just want kids on the ice. Spend so much time building it, getting it ready for kids. I just want everyone to use it.
Such a good story. Last Friday night, the Regina Pats in the WHL in Saskatchewan were hosting their Indigenous celebration night when they took on the Wenatchee Wild. To mark the game, the team was sporting special Indigenous jerseys. CTV's Donovan Mays has more on the design's inspiration and why the night was to be extra special for one player.
When Roger Ross found out the Regina Pats needed an Indigenous-themed jersey, the inspiration was instant.
I thought of the Morning Star right away because the Morning Star is one of those symbols that has become universal.
Morning stars carry significant meaning in Indigenous culture, most often found on star blankets.
And when we wrap that blanket around someone, it's a symbol of protection, but it's also an honor and a great symbol of respect. That this individual means something to us.
Now, while Ross was the brain behind it, it was his business partner, Quentin Carmark, who brought his vision to the sweater.
It just felt right for the Pats because of, who they are in the community at large.
The Morning Star blanket design is just phenomenal.
The Pats will sport these jerseys Friday night for their Indigenous celebration game, a night with special meaning for forward Connor Bear from the Ochapowace First Nation.
There's not too many Indigenous players. Back where I'm from, there's a lot of kids that are just excelling in hockey and just giving them a sense that they were belonged here and just to succeed and do well. And they can fit in this league just as everybody else.
Ahead of the game, players heard from knowledge keepers, learned powwow dances, and even picked up some Cree.
The players definitely have a lot of influence on the younger boys and girls of our community. So I see when they can participate and stuff like that, and with the reconciliation, I think hopefully it does influence the younger generation.
The jerseys will be worn for one night, but Ross hopes their spirit of reconciliation will carry on.
It's up to Canadians to reconcile with that truth. So we're getting to that place now of understanding, and they're going that extra mile to understand more.
And after Friday's game, each of the players' jerseys will be auctioned off, with the proceeds going to support the Skep Centre of Regina. Puck drop is set for 7 p.m. at the Brand Centre. Donovan May, CTV News, Regina.
And for that game, the Regina Pats won 4-2. Great job, Pats. For February, APTN News and TR Wheatley brings you Mother Tongue Teachings. It's I Love to Read Month, so our goal is to take you to the roots of Indigenous languages with a different knowledge carrier sharing a phrase of the day. Today we hear from Jasmine Flett from St. Teresa Point and a Shinanu in northern Manitoba.
Introduce yourself.
Jasmine Flett sandisen ka ega medeninga mangdonji ega antinyoman sagaza nanundawdanka. Jasmine Flett, and I'm from St. Teresa Point, and we speak Ojibwe Cree.
Let's start with something simple. We see all these books. How would you say books?
Madmegan. It means book. Like Madmegan. Madmege means to like write. Yeah. Which means I like to read.
Yeah. So say it slowly for me.
Nimene dan ayam chigayan.
Nimene dan.
Nimene dan.
Nimene dan.
Ayam chigayan.
Ayam chigayan.
Yeah.
Why you think it's so important to speak the language?
Because it's part of who we are, and like we're not Ojibwe and we're not Cree. We're Ojibwe Cree, and so like we have our own dialect. So the future generations need to know that.
Anything else you want to say?
When I was younger, we didn't live in St. Teresa all our lives, and then so I would come back and I would be talking to my grandma, and she would say to me, I would say kokum, and she would always correct me and say, you don't say, like, well, in our language she would say that it wasn't, how would she say it? She would say, Kwaning kokum, nukum. Nukum means my grandma. So she was always correcting me to say the proper way. Yeah.
Because kokum means
your
grandma.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And then nukum means my grandma. Nimene dan ayam chigayan.
Thank you so much for today. Thank you for the lesson.
Yeah.
Thank you to Jasmine and TR. If you want to see more from Mother Tongue Teachings, go to our website at aptnnews.ca/our stories. Jasmine, along with everyone else who has contributed to date, can be found there. Next up, we have two guests who recently spoke to us in studio about creating more opportunities for Indigenous students in law. We'll be right back. Starting on the east, Charlottetown -11, sunny in Halifax at -5. The Grand River -15, Nain -16. Montreal -9, Quebec City -12. Toronto -5, Peterborough -6. Sudbury -7, Wawa -12. God's Lake at -26, Thompson -24. -22 in Gimli, Princess Harbour -22. Regina -30, Saskatoon -28. -28 in Stony Rapids, Buffalo Narrows, sun and -30. To the west, Peace River -19, Fort McMurray -18. -20 in Medicine Hat, Calgary -14. Penticton -3, Campbell River 1. -16 in Fort Nelson, Smithers -12. -11 in Rock River, Dawson -25. -28 in Yellowknife, Wrigley -20. -15 in Inuvik, Colville Lake -21. -25 in Chesterfield, Baker Lake -21. And Arctic Bay -30, Aguluk -29. Members of the law profession are looking to expand an internship program for Black and Indigenous students. Avenue is a program that provides undergrad students with real-world experience in the legal industry and pays those students a decent wage. For more on the program, we recently spoke with Melinda Mock, the co-secretary of the Indigenous Bar Association, and Meseret Kasey, the co-chair of the Black Law Students Association. Here's that interview. Thank you so much for joining us today, to the both of you. Melinda, we'll start with you. Can you tell us about the Avenue internship and why it's so important and needed?
Oh, amazing question. So yeah, the Avenue internship is basically focused on undergraduate students. So anyone who falls into the category of a Black or Indigenous undergraduate student in Canada is eligible to apply. Right now, we're looking to expand the program into Manitoba. So from an important standpoint, of course, we know that for a variety of factors, minority groups obviously don't have the same opportunities that other folks in Canada do. So opening this up kind of falls under the broad category of access to justice, truly.
And Meseret, I understand you were instrumental in opening up the internship to Indigenous law students. Can you tell us about why you felt it should be expanded?
Yeah, absolutely. So the program itself was initiated by CABLE, Canadian Association of Black Lawyers. And I believe that when they started out, they meant it for Black and Indigenous students as well. But I think just bringing it into Manitoba, I just felt that there's really no way that we can do this without also including Indigenous law students and Indigenous undergraduate students. And I think simply for the fact of living out reconciliation, we can't really say that we're trying to reconcile and at the same time leave out, like, you know, a big part of Manitoba's population, Indigenous population. And so I thought it's really important to have that solidarity. And it's an idea that even when Melinda was in law school before she graduated, we thought, you know what, there's more strength in unifying together. So, yeah.
And back to you, Melinda, where does the program currently exist? And can you tell us about any success stories from the program?
Yeah, so as Meseret shared, it was started by the Canadian Association of Black Lawyers, which means that its home existed primarily in Ontario. That being said, a lot of the partners that have already aligned in Ontario had offices in Alberta and BC. So there have been internship students in Alberta and British Columbia. Meseret actually shared a story earlier today when we were chatting with one of the law firms we hope to get on board. And she shared with us a great story about you know, sometimes there's a perception that perhaps an undergraduate student might not have a space or place in a law firm quite yet. And that was surprisingly and very joyfully proven wrong. So after experiencing the program for 2 years, a particular law firm encountered a space where in the second year of the internship, they were really able to expand the abilities and the activities that student was able to engage in.
And I have a bonus question and surprise question. Can you talk about really quickly, whoever wants to answer it, what it does when we have more Indigenous lawyers, more Black lawyers doing the job out there? What does that do for our society?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I can quickly say this and then you can add to it. I think part of access to justice is for the population that's accessing justice to see themselves in the lawyers that they are speaking with and reaching out to. And we see that in Manitoba, even though there is a large Indigenous population and a growing Black population, the number of lawyers in our province does not reflect that at all. And I think it's so important that people see themselves and that we have lawyers who can actually, provide competent services, but also culturally sensitive services that, I think is really necessary.
And finally, Meseret, can you tell us who should apply for Avenue internship and how many internships are available?
Yeah, for sure. I think, as Melinda had mentioned earlier, anybody who's in undergrad in their 3rd or 4th year, but we're also including first-year law students who want to apply to a law firm. For those who are undergrad, anybody who's aspiring to be a lawyer and wants to sort of be exposed to that world. And I think many Indigenous and Black students don't have those connections, and so I think this will provide them the opportunity to network and connect and sort of get a sense of what practicing law actually looks like. And so I think anyone who's aspiring to be a lawyer that's Indigenous and Black should apply, even if they're not sure about it. I think see for yourself. So yeah.
Really quickly, Melinda, what is your message to young students out there who are thinking about maybe getting into law one day?
Let me address the elephant in the room. So I just graduated law school last year and I'm not 24, 25. I mean, I'll leave that up to the audience to guess. However, just do it. Yeah. Honestly, the community, the space, the perspectives that I was able to gain from going to Robson Hall were absolutely innumerable. And for me, it's an intergenerational thing. So I, like most Indigenous folk, have intergenerational traumas, and I've experienced and continue to experience a lot of the negatives that colonization has added to our lives. But the positives exist now. We're creating them. Our people have created them for us. The Honorable Marie Sinclair said, education got us into this. Education will get us out of this mess. So we're placing a safe space for Indigenous and Black students to get into that space. It's so important. And 7 generations forward, we can look back at this time and say we made a change.
Yeah. Melinda and Meseret, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you both for your time.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
And that's your daytime newscast for this Monday, February 10th. We're back for your evening newscast in a few hours. Make sure to join us then. From all of us at APTN National News, hi miigwech masicho. Thank you for watching. We'll see you again next day.